Update: my parents scammed me out of $90,000 and disappeared. Then I found out my wife helped them. Now I'm suing all of them and filing for divorce. Part 2: it's been 3 weeks since I filed the petitions, and I have blocked my wife because I don't think I have anything left to say to her anymore. She kept trying to talk to me and make me come back for about a week before I finally blocked her. Part of the reason was that so many people commented here and told me I needed to make a run for it because my wife was a huge red flag. I feel like the only reason I had even been questioning myself was because I loved her, and I desperately wanted to hold on to the belief that she would never do something like this to me. But I couldn't ignore the facts anymore. She had betrayed me, and she had manipulated me. She probably wouldn't even have ever told me the truth herself, and I had to find out by chance. After a betrayal of this degree, I don't think I could ever bring myself to trust her again. So no matter how much I loved her and wanted to be with her, I had to let her go for the sake of my own sanity. Blocking her was actually quite a relief for me, and I definitely have a much clearer head now. The legal proceedings against my parents and my wife have already started, and things are pretty much going in my favor right now. I know for a fact that I will be getting my money back, so I'm not too worried about the future. My parents are going to pay for all the lies they made up, and my lawyer and I are going to make sure of that. They already looked pretty unhappy on the day we met for our first settlement negotiation, but my goal is to make sure they look and feel just as unhappy as I had felt when they scammed me. My wife tried to talk to me that day as well, and it was difficult for me, but I dodged her somehow and made my way back to the hotel without having to interact with her. Now, I just have to keep doing that until this is all over. It's probably going to be really difficult, but I know that I do not want to speak to my wife under any circumstances. It's mostly because I'm afraid that speaking to her might make me weak again. I can't afford to let that happen. I don't want to go back to her because I know that could be the worst move I make, and I know very well that she can totally manipulate me into coming back. She almost did it once, and when it comes to her, I practically have no self-control. So it's best for me not to take that risk at all. It's already hard enough for me to meet her and fight her legally. I can't do more. Update 2: so, my wife decided to contact me today in person and showed up at the hotel I've been living in. When I received the call from the hotel front desk and learned that my wife was here to see me, I was really confused because I hadn't told anybody where I was except my lawyer and a couple of close friends I trusted. I knew they wouldn't tell her. When I spoke to her, I found out that for the past couple of days, she had been visiting every hotel in and around town looking for me. Now that she had finally found me, she wasn't going to leave without having a conversation with me. I didn't know what else to do, so I invited her up to my room because I didn't want to fight with her in the lobby. Once we were in my room, I waited for her to start talking because I had nothing to say to her. After some awkward silence, she told me she was here to ask me to stop the divorce proceedings, and I just couldn't believe she was bringing this up again. I told her that it was bad enough she was here. She shouldn't make things worse for herself by backing me into a corner. I made it very clear that I was not going to entertain any discussion about this. But she told me she would testify against my parents and make everything much easier for me if I just decided to stay with her. It was ridiculous and exasperating because I had to explain to her that's not how things work. She couldn't just turn on my parents and expect me to take her back. She had really screwed up our relationship and there was no fixing it anymore. Mostly because I didn't want to fix it. I wanted to leave and I had made that pretty clear to her, but she just couldn't accept it. I tried to tell her that it didn't matter to me what she did anymore because I was fighting to end this marriage, not to make it work. She started crying and asked me why I was punishing her when she had already learned her lesson. It was so absurd that I couldn't help but chuckle because she was making it sound like I was a disgruntled school teacher and not her husband whom she had betrayed and manipulated. So I told her I wasn't punishing her. I was just trying to protect myself and do what was best for me. Right now, staying away from her was the best thing I could do for myself. But she continued crying and told me she was doing this for us and wasn't ready to throw away over a decade of her life because of a stupid mistake. I didn't know what to say because I also felt miserable about the divorce. But if I couldn't even trust her, what was the point of being with her? That's what I needed her to understand. So I thought I would explain it to her gently and have this conversation once and for all so she would learn to give up and move on. I told her I couldn't be with her, even though I loved her, because she had hurt me and broken my trust. And that's something you can't take back no matter how much you try. So now she could do whatever she wanted, but it wasn't going to undo the damage, and I would never be able to forget what she had put me through. Even if we stayed together and canceled the divorce, it wouldn't make any sense because I would just keep doubting her and questioning her, and that would make both of us miserable. So it wasn't just for me, But it was also in her best interest to go through with the divorce instead of trying to fight it. I thought I was getting through to her and making progress until she got back on her feet and told me I was wrong and that she would keep fighting for us to be together. Apparently, unlike me, she loved me and wasn't ready to give up on our marriage because of a misunderstanding. Then she walked out, and I've been sitting here for the past hour wondering what to do because this is really frustrating. This could be a clear-cut divorce and an easy process, but she is bent on making it a lot more difficult than it needs to be. I told my lawyer about it, and I don't think there's much we can do because if my wife doesn't want to get divorced, there's very little we can do to speed up the process. It's really frustrating, but I can't do anything about this. I haven't updated you guys in a while, so I thought I'd drop in and let you know that the legal process is still ongoing, but I'm winning this for sure. My parents are just trying to buy themselves more time. My wife is trying to fight against the divorce still, even though it's been almost 2 months since the proceedings began. I feel bad for her at this point because she's obviously in denial about this whole mess. Her family isn't speaking to her either, presumably because they found out the truth. It must be hard, but again, it's not my fault. You can watch the third part by pressing like and share and comment update and tag me for part 3.